Well, today Hornbill TV has been covering the 14th Nagaland Assembly Elections 2023, and we have been providing you with accurate, up-to-date information about the election process. And as the citizens of Nagaland has already voted today, our team has been on the ground to give us the ground report on the election events, however they have been unfold. So we have been talking to some of the candidates, political leaders and voters and we have got a comprehensive picture of the election and its implications in the morning till 4 p.m. And now we have been monitoring the electoral process, including the preparations and implementation of the election. And we have been very excited to be a part of this important event in Nagaland's history. And yes, we look forward to bringing you all the latest news and updates regarding the polling. And now to get a little assessment on the overall updates, I'm being joined by our senior news analyst, El Muli, live from the newsroom. Hi, El. Hi, El. Thank you for joining me. And as we know that Nagaland has already went for the poll today, and it started at 7 a.m. and it has ended at 4 p.m. So since the voting process has already come to an end, what is the overall voter percentage as per updates as of now?
Yeah, it's been an exciting but also a very stressful time for all of us here in Army. I think right now I'm reporting in my pajamas and t-shirt, but that's okay too. We are having fun. Right now we are still yet to get the official statement in regard to the voters percentage for Nagaland, because as far as the reports from the media go, I think they vary because they get the news at varying times and they also report the percentages at certain times of the day. So what we can do right now is wait for the Chief Election Commission's establishment to send us an official report of the total percentage of voter turnout in Nagaland during the elections now. But at the moment, we were really expecting that the election percentage this time would beat the 2018 percentage, which was about 85, because initially around 3 p.m., somewhere around 2 and 3 p.m., the voters percentage was about 65. So we thought maybe within the next 1.5 an hour, I think we would get to somewhere around 20%, so that it would beat the 2018 voters percentage, that is 85. But right now, according to what the numbers are saying, it's much more fewer than the votes that were polled during 2018. So right now, the latest figures that we have is we have 73.22% of total voters turnout in Nagaland Army. But like I said, we'll have to wait for the Chief Electoral Commission's establishment to send us a complete copy and a statement in regard to the breakup of the votes. It's 73.22 for now. So if before we went to report, if they have any additional percentages that they can add to the 3 p.m. percentage, then I think it might increase slightly, but we are not really optimistic that the numbers will go beyond 78%, 80, yeah, somewhere in that line.
Right, El. And like we've seen it in the morning, during the day, and even in the later part of the polling process.
Right.
We have seen and heard a lot of things, violence being reported, a lot of things has been going on. So what might be the overall situation in Nagaland, as of now?
Yeah, that is something everyone is asking about, because of the kind of violence that have been perpetrated on people, especially in certain parts of Mukokchong and Wokha. I think the media space has been constantly been speculating whether there are more instances of election-related violence from across the state, because there might be incidences that might have gone unreported. But insofar as our assessment is concerned, And insofar as the news reports that we have been receiving are saying, Mokokchung and Wokha, I think particularly these two have been the only places that have shown a high level of violence. Of course, this time it was a very big surprise that Zinepodo was very quiet, because Zinepodo has, like I said before, has not really been a very model electoral district in the past elections, but this time they have performed wonderfully. At least none have been reported there, and even Dimapur, yes, there have been reports here and there about electoral violence, not necessarily violence in an overt form, but in subtle ways. Major altercations also took place, scuffles and quarreling between rival party supporters in Dimapur 2 and Dimapur 3. Yes, and I think we have been getting reports from Ongma about how supporters are still engaged in fights. But overall, if you compare to how elections are conducted in India, for states, for example, for states like Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, and of course West Bengal, comparatively Nagaland's elections are very peaceful if you compare it to the states outside. West Bengal is considered one of the most violent states in India during elections, and it still holds the position of being the state where the highest number of election-related murders take place, Nami. But for those in northeastern states, especially Nagaland, things are a little quiet if you compare it to the other states in India. So I would say that comparatively it's been peaceful, except for some of the bad reports here and there from certain districts of the state. But it's been comparatively peaceful, and I think this is due to because of the inputs from the election authorities, the police administration, and of course the government agencies who have been tasked with the responsibility of ensuring that the elections are, as far as is possible for them to do, peaceful.
And it's sad to say and very unfortunate that some of the districts in Nagaland, like Mokokchung and Wokha, we can say that we have seen a lot of violence being reported.
Right.
And but on the other hand, we also got good reports from some of the districts where election process went smoothly. For example, Peren, etc.
Right.
So why do you think the other districts are, quieter compared to Mokokchung and Wokha?
Oh yeah, that's a question I didn't expect, because that is exactly what I was working on for my show. Some places have reported a high level of violence, Mokokchung and Wokha, yes. But there are a lot of areas in Nagaland that have shown little or no sign of violence in this regard. And it's very interesting because even as I was working on my show, I was just putting the notes down in regard to this. There is actually a research about why there is a lot of violence in certain areas and why there is no violence at all in electoral communities. It's not just in Nagaland, not just in India, but everywhere. The reason for electoral violence is primarily this. When there is a perception that a candidate is going to lose, then there is a high likelihood that there will be violence, because the candidates who are perceived to be on the losing end of the game will try their best to garner as many votes as possible before people go to vote. That is one reason. But if there are a lot of candidates within a single constituency, and if they feel that a majority of the votes will go to a single candidate, majority of them, and the vote breakup among the smaller candidates are very small, then there will very likely be peaceful atmosphere. So these things are complicated, and these research are not really hard founded on facts, because things might differ from one region to another. people to people, and even country to country and culture to culture. So we don't know, but that might be an indication why some places in Nagaland showed ferocious violence, like Mochong, Wokha. But there are a lot of districts. Even Pek was relatively quiet this time. Kohima was very quiet this time. Zinipuru was quiet this time, and Mon too. Mon and Tunsang, all the eastern districts, they didn't report that much of major violent incidences. So the idea of vote breakup going in favor largely to a single candidate instead of a large number of votes being broken up between a large number of candidates might be the reason why the other states, other districts were quite peaceful. Another thing is, of course, a strong community feeling. Nagaland is a very community-based people. We are a people that owe our allegiance to clans, you know. We owe allegiance to villages because we have certain sentiments and connection towards it. So if a community leadership within a district is strong, there is also a likelihood that they will exert a greater and a higher level of influence upon the actions and behavior of the voters. So that might be another reason why many of the places in Nagaland was peaceful during the elections.
Okay, Al. And not just Nagaland, but even Meghalaya has voted today.
Right.
They have gone for poll today. So,
Right.
Do you have any updates on Meghalaya pollings as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think we should be, we are a little bit embarrassed because I think we have not really been focusing on Tripura and Meghalaya that much, Nami. You know, amid all the rush and violence and news reports and stress and depression from the elections, we've been concentrating mostly on Nagaland. Right now, even as we speak, I think the voters' turnout for Meghalaya has been very low, actually. We will have to wait for the Election Commission of Meghalaya to issue updates, but as I'm speaking to you, the updates, the percentage of voters in Meghalaya are still around 45% or so, which is much lower than the voter turnout for those who have been voting from Nagaland. So that is as far as we can speak for now.
All right, Al, and we've seen it this year, 2023, there are 4 women candidates who have already contested.
Right.
So what does this reflect in
Yeah,
our society
yeah,
today?
that's. I think it's a good thing for women in general because this time we have 4 female candidates who are contesting. So compared to the one that we had in 2003, compared to the 2 that we had in 2018, and of course with the recent with the recent entry of Nagaland into the parliament, a representative in the form of a woman, I think it indicates that there is a higher level of consciousness why women in Nagaland should have a place of their own within the decision-making bodies and institutions of the state. It's not just about the question of equality. It's not just a question of empowerment. I think it is very wrong to say that women should be put in certain places of political decision-making bodies because they are women or because we are trying to fulfill the idea of equality. We are trying to fulfill the idea of empowerment. It is wrong because when we talk of women empowerment, we are arguing that having female candidates or female MLAs justify why we are equal, then I think that is wrong because we are not talking about the competence and the skills and the capacity of these women to lead in areas where men have dominated most of the time. So I wouldn't like to call it women empowerment. I think that's insulting because they were not selected because they were women. I think that's very insulting. They were selected because the parties found some kind of the parties saw potential in them to be able to lead the community or the society or to bring development to their areas. So I would rather see it as an economy of competence rather than an economy of gender roles here. So definitely it's a good thing that we have 4 female candidates, Naomi this time, and hopefully if they win, or if any one of the four wins, then I think this will be the first time that Nagaland will have an MLA sitting in the Nagaland Legislative Assembly.